Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies strengthening your business while offering your talent to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Giver Marketing Network broadcast. We're here for you. We're going to help you with your marketing, communications, media results. And what better person to have than Joel Snyder, my friend? It's good to have you back. You're one of our guests that we do want to have come back often and frequently because of how fast your company is growing, how much results you're getting for other clients, and we just want to be a part of that journey with you. So thanks again for jumping on. And what are we going to be talking about today, Joel?
Oh man, what a great opportunity to share with y'all. It's been fun. It's been a fun journey, and the connection with the Giver Network has certainly been instrumental in our growth. And we're going to talk today about marketing for high-valued advertisers. And I think, we as marketers, especially as freelancers, we pull in these contracts that we take for cash flow and try to grab a little profit along the way. But what I really want to talk about today is how we can elevate the game to bring in that high valued client that generates profits.
Love it. Love it. And I know that you handle budgets of all sizes when it comes to ads and really just the overall marketing campaigns, because you can act as a fractional CMO type role. You can act as the implementation arm for a fractional as well. And so depending on what the client needs, you can pull those levers and make sure they get the best of the best of the best results. All right. So whether you have a small ad budget or you have a six-figure monthly ad budget or more, you want to pay attention today because there's some principles in here that will apply to you. Before we jump in, though, some of our audience don't know your story, Joel. So how did you even get to be in the space, and what are some fun little highlights or lowlights? What are some fun little pieces of your story that we might want to know about?
Thanks. Yeah, so it's fun. I started cutting my teeth in advertising, working for a weekly newspaper down in San Diego, and worked my way into management there and ran a small team. But where my real kind of core experience comes out of is in the incentive industry, because as my career grew, I worked up the chain a little bit to talk about how employee behavior and consumer behavior affects a company's bottom line. And so when you think about profit generating activities, which we want to talk about here today as well, and as you're looking at how you're growing your marketing practice, the whole idea is to grow our clients' business, right? So the more they grow, the more we grow, the more value we add to that relationship. So coming out of the incentive industry for about 15 years, working as a regional consultant for resellers all across the Western United States, I realized that my true passion kind of came down to that local entrepreneur. They may have a national concern, and we certainly work with national companies, but the regional and local guys that are affecting their economies, providing jobs, enriching families, building parks, adding to their community organizations. That's really where I could see the benefit in growing those businesses.
Yeah, these boss ladies and boss dudes are the lifeblood of our country and many countries. And I know that we primarily work in the United States, but we have some clients in other parts of the world. And every country relies on these small to medium sized businesses. So the fact that you're Coax Business Marketing and you're able to really help them is super, super powerful. Hey, thanks again, Joel, for jumping on. How did you get to do the actual like management and implementation of broader marketing campaigns? How did that even happen? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of gurus out there tell you niche down, niche down, niche down, and that's fine for gaining experience. But when you can cross over from vertical to vertical, you start gaining a body of work
Mhm.
that is now somewhat universal, depending on certain exterior circumstances. But for the most part, the best practices are the same
Mhm.
from industry to industry. And so, being a student of business, I spent a lot of time in the Inc. 500 circle and studying those businesses and how they got from 1,000 to 500 and 500 to the 100, right? And
Mhm.
drawing those correlations and really seeing, okay, what are the steps between under $1 million, $2 to $5 million, $10 million and a plus, right? And the difference between that and $100 million company, right? What are those differences? And so as we started to grow our agency and create more body of work, we were able to cross verticals from one to another. And so now when I have an opportunity to speak with a client or a management team, being able to relate to them as to what their industry issues are and some of the ways that we solved it has really led me to where we are today.
Love it, love it. And it's just been a wild ride to work with you on projects and multiple projects and be able to see those results. I mean, adding $1 million to somebody's top line revenue has become kind of a normal thing for us now. So let's go. Let's keep doing that. I love it. So, all right. So with that, we have a focus today on kind of that ads budget and how do we evaluate whether this is working well or not? And how is Joel going to help us with this? So let's bring up some of your visuals, if you will, to the screen. And what do we need to know about you and your company outside of your story there?
Well, so in marketing for high valued advertisers, I mean, really what you want to know about me is that we have a breadth of experience. And when it comes to really attracting a high dollar client, you need to have someone on your team that can speak the language and can share some stories. And that just adds credibility for you, the marketer. And I know when I bring Timothy in on an account, I have full confidence that he has the intuitive knowledge to speak to that client in an intelligent way and draw out their pain points and offer suggestions. So having somebody on that level in your presentation team really makes a difference.
So freeideasession.com will get on your calendar and we'll remind you of that later too. But ultimately, you want to grab a screenshot of this right here or take a picture of this QR code as fast as you can. Look up Joel Snyder on all the socials, but specifically LinkedIn. And don't forget freeideasession.com. It's worth several $100s to be able to talk to somebody that's not trying to pitch you. They're just trying to help you and bring value to your current situation, give you some actionable items, some tips, so you can go and impact the clients and the people that you serve while generating more revenue to make that sustainable for everybody involved. And Joel is a master of doing that. So if you're struggling in any way, having to do with ads or getting the word out in a most efficient way, you definitely want to go to freeideasession.com. But let's jump into some of the training today, Joel. And where are we starting here? Help us get our heart and our mind right and ready.
Yeah. So as you're thinking about your ideal clients, and your targets, right, you got to do the research. And I have this kind of heading here, your top 25. I kind of took this. There's other marketers that talk about the Dream 100, but one of my applications was to be a soccer coach, and at the high school level and at the high end club level for kids at the high school ages going into college. And one of the things that we talked about was pick the top 25 colleges that you would want to go to and play on their team, and do that research and find out if that's a good fit for you. Because in the end, if you don't get a scholarship and you get admitted to college, you still may want to go to that college, right? But that's the top 25. But then you also need to put it out there to another 75. So get your Dream 100 going, right? And then as you kind of work down the scale of preference, you're going to add another 300, right? So you want to have a good body of work of prospects out there. And this is not something you do once. This is an ongoing process, right? So you get your top targets, you continue to add to the funnel, but do the research. And if you're not sure about what it is you're looking for, visit the Giver Marketing Blueprint. You've got 4 topics there. And this is the very minimum of the research that you're going to want to do. And we can talk more about digging into software and some inspection opportunities where you can Google and find things about companies. But the bottom line of it is, is their brand voice clear? So when you're going in to talk to a client, is the message clear, right? Do we know exactly who they are, what their image is, who their customer is? And then as we kind of dial that in and get a clear understanding, what's their market positioning? How do they rank? If you want to do the research around that, simple, just put in a few search terms and see if they're even showing up in the search results, right? But and there's tools too that can show you what they rank for. So again, that branding voice, the ranking, the keywords, have a lot of that kind of in the background of your knowledge, because you don't want to get broadsided with questions you don't have answers to. And you're going to get answers. You may get questions that you don't have an answer of that requires more research, and a company will respect the fact that you're not their employee. You may not have that intimate knowledge, but dig as deep as you can. And I'm going to talk about some tips on how to get there as well. But promotion, how does their customer find them? How do they buy from them? We've had clients that come to us and they want to run ads on TikTok, and I just have to tell them, I'm sorry, but that's not how people are going to buy from you, right? And it's great to do it, and it might be a branding thing, and there may be some visibility that comes out of it, but you really got to know the desired outcomes of why you're using these tools, and we're going to talk about that in our tips as well. But then nurture, why do you want to do business with that client, right? And so ask some of these hard questions as well in the presentation, and listen. What are they telling you? What is their frustration? What is it that's not working, right?
Super
and
interesting list here, Joel, because whether you're a marketing, communication, and media professional just wanting to sharpen your skills today, or whether you're somebody who runs a business that needs to take your game to another level, these principles apply on both ends of that conversation. So I love how you kind of tied that in and made that applicable to anybody who's listening. So let's go. Let's keep going. This is great.
So getting in the research side of things, as you're reaching out to these companies, you want to find out someone in that company, or you want to start a relationship with someone in that company who becomes your champion. Mm-hmm. So, executives don't just call you on the phone and say, oh yeah, I'm down, let's go. Mm-hmm. And you certainly don't call a company at this level and say, hey, I'm Joel, you want to buy my magazines, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to find a champion that can give us some insider insights. And why is that important? because first of all, they want you there, right? They found a relationship that they feel comfortable with, and they want you there. So that means they want you to be successful, right? Because they want you to do good for the client. It makes them look good. Your success is their success. And when they get that kind of comfort level with you, then they'll begin to advocate for you. The relationship's not going to be perfect, right? And
Well, are you talking about a channel partner here, or someone inside the company that you're trying to work with? Well, can you explain who this champion might be in different scenarios?
Sure, and it could be an internal person,
Okay.
right? So if you're the point of the spear, and this is a client that if you're the point of the spear, and this is a client you're working with, and you're looking for how to grow that client,
Okay.
then
Gotcha.
you're going to bring in a channel partner, a strategic partner that makes you look good.
Can
right?
you give an example of maybe a client you've worked with, or an industry you've worked with where you helped this actually happened? Can you give an example?
Yeah. So one of our, in fact, larger manufacturer clients came to us through another marketing company. And the marketing company did their website, had their brand packaging, they did all kinds of good stuff, but they weren't in the advertising space while they were running ads,
Hmm.
and they were getting okay results. The client was teetering a little bit on their effectiveness.
Hmm.
And so being able to come in and streamline those programs and then suggest a new campaign to help them grow the vertical where their seasonal challenge was, then we were able to say, okay, let's create this seasonal campaign, run it for 90 days.
Hmm.
And you see, I really specialize in that 90 to 120 day phase plans. And so we created consumer promotions, we created channel incentives for their resellers, we created collateral materials to go along with it, and then we ran the ads behind it. And we were actually able to generate over 500 leads in 90 days for that manufacturer through the resale channel. So when you think about those relationships, it's no longer one-to-one, it's one-to-many. So one good relationship to a reseller or a channel partner or a key account, right, becomes exponential in its return. And I
Wow.
mentioned to you today that we're talking about strategies that builds profits.
Yep.
This is one of them.
Okay. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and anytime you can get a company insider, that fits this desire tree, they're going to help you get that key information that makes it important. So, so you've got the presentation. You got to have a story, right? So why are you here, man? What's going on? And they'll ask you, right, at this board level, and you may not be talking to just one person when you're making your presentation. You may be talking to 6 people, 4 people. It could be an entire committee that's screening you, right, and vetting your service. So at this higher level, there are other decision makers along the tree as you climb that ladder to the final decision. So have some contextual application, right? If you've got a client that is looking to streamline their ad campaigns, come in and discuss what it means to do that, right? So one of the stories I talk about in presentations is how we as a service are looking to return in streamlining a 30% performance benchmark, right? And we try to demonstrate that. So look, if you're spending $10,000 a month and I can get you the same results for $7,000 a month, how does that make my service look to you? We had a pool company that was spending well over $10,000 a month on ads with 2 different resellers. And so we came in, we streamlined their ads, dropped their ad cost to $6,000 for the same results, and provided a better personal experience, because now they're not dealing with a company, they're dealing with someone who's actually doing the work. So we were able to make adjustments. We added local SEO to it that the other companies weren't doing, or if they were going to charge a lot of extra money for it. So by being able to add certain layers, we were able to bring down their ad costs and amplify their profits. So demonstrate that you've done the research, have a reasonable solution, bring a unique value proposition, right? And clearly define what they're hearing from other agencies and why they should work with you, why you're different. And this is something that we definitely lay out in a presentation, is us versus them, so that when that client goes to make their decision, it's now a value decision and not a commodity decision, right? It's no longer about price.
Explain that just a little bit more. Value versus commodity. What is this commodity word that we keep hearing on the marketing and also just on the business side of anything? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So when I talk with a client about, in this context, about advertising agencies, one of the things we talk about is the fees and how fees are structured and what fees are disguised. And I let them know, when you work with us, it's transparent. You know exactly what it's going to be every month for the length of the agreement. There's no commission. I have no incentive to spend your money. And you have full disclosure. We track everything. You have real-time dashboards. I'll show you an example of one at the end here. Mm-hmm. But the whole idea is to be completely open and honest. And the difference between that and other agencies, right? Clearly define it. Not that other agencies are being dishonest, but they need to find ways to generate profits, because having an agency is a large overhead, right?
Well, it's like going to a mechanic. There's a mechanic that's like just the just the typical mechanic that does some good work, but it's hard to know what they're doing because of the way that their invoices are, or the way that they explain the work that they did. Like they can get the work done, but you don't know whether they're charging you too much, too little. Like you don't know what's going on from a understanding standpoint. That's kind of your commodity or your average like experience. Whereas in other companies, they explain everything. They're very transparent. They're very personable. They're responsive. That takes you out of the commodity or the average experience situation and takes you to a higher level of experience. And you know why the results are actually happening, so that if for some reason you end up with a larger team and you want to be able to kind of partner up with multiple groups and organizations or talent, then you have a bigger understanding of the strategy that's happening. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that's why a lot of marketing, communications, and media companies won't share their results, their strategies, their tactics, their insights, their real data with you, because they don't want you taking that data and going somewhere else and trying to Mickey Mouse it and duct tape it and do it yourself. Whereas if we just explain to them, look, you're in good hands. We're different than a lot of folks. We're not a commodity. We're not a just pay a few bucks and try to get some results and hope and pray. We actually back what we say. That takes you out of the average or the commoditization of whatever we're doing. So Joel, thanks for explaining that. And that translates to your clients too, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a business owner, an attorney, a real estate agent, or whatever industry you're in, a church even, like you need to separate yourself from the rest of the herd and say, this is what we do different. This is why we do it different. You got to at least try and experience what we have. And so just being able to explain that is like a tip within a tip. So thanks, Joel.
Sure. And then you're able to talk about your process, right? So one of the things that we want to make sure is clear to the client is that we understand their industry and their history, the history of the industry, because there's three things that I do in my process And I do kind of look like this guy at the wheel over there in this
That's
scenario, because there's a lot of testing and data and reviewing and developing and planning, right? Because number one, when we understand the history, now we can make their campaigns predictable. So if I can make your campaign predictable, we can talk about how to make it profitable. And this is what we're talking about today in your business, is how do we get you to profitable? And then once we understand what it's going to take to get profitable, can we make it scalable? And by scale, it could be opening another channel. It could be starting a new product. But taking the process and putting it and applying it in a different area could generate exponential profits.
Somebody write that down in the notes. And listen, our social comments really act as notes for each other. So write that down. If you want it to be profitable, make it predictable. If you want it to be profitable, make it predictable. It's just a different way that what Joel just said. Make it predictable, then you have a chance to make it profitable, is what Joel was saying. So we want to remember that phrase as we're working with whoever we're working with. But specifically, if we work with Joel, we know that's going to be in play. So predictable, profitable, and then scalable, which is on the screen there for you as well. But scalable just means that you want to grow beyond your own personal capabilities. Like you just want to grow in a multiplying kind of a way. You want to grow beyond what you can handle yourself or with a tiny team. Like you want to grow exponentially or with scalability as a possible result for you. Okay, so not everybody scales the same way. Joel just mentioned like 3 or 4 different ways, but we all want to grow. And so that's essentially a way to say, look, you want to grow like a big boy or a big girl, like this is how you do it right here.
Yeah, and we definitely want to talk that way to the client, right? The client wants to grow, right? So we have to make sure we understand that process to get them to grow in different ways and bring in new strategies, and then set clear expectations. We had a client that came to us and said, I don't spend any money on advertising unless I can get a 10-to-1 return on my investment. And we've all heard that. At some point, you're going to hear it if you haven't yet. And the industry standard was 4-to-1. So in e-commerce, if you can get a 4-to-1 return on your investment, you are doing exceptionally well. So I said, okay, how about we run a test? I'm going to run a campaign at an 8-to-1 profitability scale. Let's see what happens. So we took their number one product in their highest volume territory in the peak season, and we ran a campaign with an 8-to-1 return on investment as a parameter. So Google could only show ads if it could predict an 8-to-1 return on that click, on that spend as a conversion value. We got 1.
Okay.
In 30 days. We got 1. So we made it predictable in a negative way. We showed them that it was not profitable.
Okay.
Right. And that there's no scale there. So the scaling was where you are to where you could be. They were running at about a 2.5 return on investment. We're now, after 60 days, we're at a 3.5 to a 4.
Okay.
So we've really increased their profits, right? But we know now scalability is not going to go from a 4 to an 8. Scalability has to be which products, how can we magnify your ad spend to distribute this campaign over a bigger area?
So what I'm hearing you say, Joel, is this is a science in the beginning, but it becomes an art as time goes on, because you have science underpinning it. You have your history, your research, and everything, but the art of pulling the right levers at the right time is become almost either like a musical experience or an artistic experience for the client and for those who are listening to the music, if you will.
Yeah, and I always say the bridge builder will always have a job, right?
There you go.
And here you go. I mean, this is kind of a process of how a team might collaborate. And we did something like this in the network just to kind of demonstrate the flow of how people can utilize the network and how the network can bring value and an advantage to their people. But when it comes right down to it, metrics, right? So I want to touch on this subject because I know we're kind of going off the rails a little bit here, but I want to touch, as I do, right?
Come on, rock and roll, Joel.
Conversions versus total return on ad spend. So people will set up a ad campaign and they'll optimize for conversions. And I don't know if you realize this or not, but Google will spend double your daily ad budget every day up to the volume, up to the maximum allowed for the month. So when they're optimizing for conversions and you're putting it out as a maximize opportunity, meaning you didn't specify what that conversion value needs to be, they're going to push hard to get you those conversions. Now, when we ran this comparison against a total return on ad spend campaign, we saw almost a 60% increase in ad spend by using conversions versus giving a conversion value or return on ad spend, a TROAS measurement. So there's a little more work involved in that. You take actual conversions that generated revenue for you, and you report it back to Google.
Okay.
Their documents and the click IDs, and you report it back, and you tell Google this click ID gave us $3,000 transaction. And when you do this on a repetitive and ongoing scale, you train the algorithm to find you business that only fits the ROAS component or the conversion value that you specify. So that's why we were able to say only give us campaigns with an 8-to-1 or an 800% return on ad spend.
Right.
Right. Versus a conversion value. So I could go back and I could say maximize conversions, but the maximum value will be $2,500. And then they'll try to get me $2,500 deals all day long. Right. But to get me an 800% return on ad spend, the algorithm couldn't find it. Right? It wasn't possible.
So you can do a little bit of manual data augmentation, and it will increase your results, is what I'm hearing.
Right. And I love to put handcuffs on Google. They fight me all the time, and they want me to in their meetings, and they want to talk about and convince me on how I need a bunch more keywords, and I need to open my broad searches, and I need to generate, on and on and on. And I said, well, all of these things that you're telling me is telling me how to spend more money. It's not telling me how to make my campaign better.
Come on, somebody put that in the comments. I want to hire people like Joel so I can make more for my company, not make Google more money. Google is a tool. We don't feed it. It's not a pet. We don't feed it for just to keep it alive. It's there for a reason. We want to make sure that these tools, these resources are there for a reason, and we can maximize the return on ad spend if we do it really well with a strategy that somebody like Joel can help you with. Okay, good. Yeah. So there's ways to, now listen, this isn't a hack, ladies and gentlemen. This is just being smart. Like, this is just adding data to the existing tools. Anytime you have somebody coming in and saying they're going to hack everything and hack this and hack that, they might be a hack job. Like, we don't know, like, exactly, like there are some temporary solutions for different things, and that's usually where the hacks come in. But long term, you want somebody that, like, this is the art and science of how this works. This is the ebb and flow. If you want a 4-to-1 return on investment, if you want to, at least, 3, 4, 5 return on investment, then you need to talk to somebody who's been in the game for a little while. They know what they're doing. There's a reason that they're still in the game after so many years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And desired outcomes will determine the strategy. So you want to be very clear on what that is.
Yep.
And then moving forward, roles and responsibilities, right? Sales versus service. High value clients expect tailored solutions and exceptional service.
Yep.
So you really have to be prepared for that, right? And clearly define your points of contact, how to communicate with your team. We use a project management tool that allows discussion threads so
Yep.
teams can communicate, but also the client has a discussion thread place where they can put their comments and the whole team gets it. So
Okay.
when it comes to things like proofing content or giving feedback, or we'll do research and get it validated by the client to make sure it's applicable to them. Because in the end, we want to do business in the way the client conducts their business. So if you're creating landing pages and running CRMs and things like that that are outside the client environment, now you're asking the client to behave the way you want them to versus providing a tailored solution where you're behaving in the way the client wants to behave.
Come on, somebody put that in the comments. We got to consider the client rhythms, behaviors, preferences before our own, as long as we can still get the results. We need to get the results. That's priority number one. But being able to communicate, function, leverage tools, resources in a way that makes sense to them so they don't have to reinvent the entire wheel just to work with you. Like, they just need to be able to work with you. It's almost like a relationship. Like, let's just meet halfway, or meet where at your, in your neighborhood, or in your way, or in this way. Let's make this work for you. And then at that point, then you have more relational equity to make some minor adjustments if you need to. But
yeah, and we also ask them, how do you like to get your data? If I send you a lead, where does that need to go? Right? Because you can do things off site, but the data needs to go back to the client. So the question is, if I get you this lead, who's going to follow up on it? Quick story. We had one of our medium to smaller clients is an estate planning attorney.
mm-hmm.
And we did call ads for him because he wants to get phone calls. It goes to his answering service. They say, this is a hot guy. I'm going to transfer him to the attorney, right?
Sure.
That's the way he does business. We got him a bunch of phone calls that he wasn't getting, and we weren't sure why these leads weren't showing how it was converted. Well, after a deeper conversation in our strategy meetings, he realized that his call center was not understanding the instructions behind the call and transferring the calls to him.
Mm-hmm.
So his own system was broken.
Got it.
So it's not that we were ineffective or that we were doing things, and we were doing things outside of his environment, but then bringing that lead into his environment.
Yeah.
And he was not getting the conversions, and of course blaming the campaign. And I don't mean blaming in a bad way, but he's saying, hey, this isn't really working. But once we got in a deeper dive into his process, then we realized where the disconnect was.
That's an interesting story, Joel. There was a client a long time ago that when Google leads were just coming in, the Google call feature was just coming in, and the call would come in and say, you have a call from Google. Mm-hmm. We tried to explain it to the team, like, we have calls coming in from Google, but they didn't quite understand it because they weren't used to that. And they thought they were literally getting calls from Google, so they were hanging up on the leads.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what in the world is that? So we had to kind of adjust very quickly, but we thought we had communicated that, but the team wasn't quite ready for this amount of leads coming in and the phone calls, and they were hot phone calls too. So I can relate to your story. It's super interesting. All right, so help us with this results driven. And I also have a question for you later. We're going to have a panel discussion. I'm going to ask you about walled gardens later, but tell us about your process and results and the emphasis on that.
Yeah, so the premium service, is a guaranteed results-driven process. And so when we were talking about having a process, having a plan, all of this in this earlier slides, one of the things that I like to do is a deployment test where everyone that's touching the lead or the revenue generating opportunity is involved in that discussion. I go back once a month to sit with the client, and I sit with their marketing team and coach them and help direct them. There's 6 people in the marketing team. There's 20 people in the call center. There's 12 people in the sales center. So sitting with all of those directors and really talking about a deployment strategy with that mid-level management really helped in the execution and response measurement of how the campaigns are doing. So discover, strategy, success. So the strategy has a session with the company officials. We plan it out with the mid-level executives, and we do a deployment simulation with the frontline management team or frontline workers. So it's really important that that kind of is part of that premium service. And if you do it right, you can work with advertisers that are spending 6 figures a month. And this is one of ours. And you can see Google ad cost $965,000 just this month of September, and the numbers are not all in yet. So that gives you some opportunity to think about, does this work? Do all of these things matter? The answer is yeah, it matters, right? And get good at it. Because in the end, success is a culture, it's a lifestyle, it's not a hobby. So you need to think about, that commitment level. So I'm happy to provide any suggestions and help people out. There's, again, the freeideasession.com, and I'm open to any questions that anybody has.
What did you just say, Joel? Success is a lifestyle, not a hobby. Somebody put that in the comments. That's a good one right there. I like that. Well, hey, grab your QR code, grab your link, get a hold of Joel, mention the word giver, and that he'll give you a little extra love, extra goodies just for saying the word givers, because then he'll know what broadcast you saw him on. But hey, sessions like this, these 30-minute sessions, they're worth $500 easy all day long with somebody of this caliber. So grab that right now before it shows off the screen. As we go into panel discussion right now, Joel, buckle up, get ready, brace yourself for some awesomeness. We're going to go 60 miles an hour here and have some fun together. But we're going to bring Christine and Joe up on the screen, up on the stage here, if you will. And then we're going to have some panel discussion. So super excited about that. Grab your QR code in 3, 2, what? Okay, there it goes. There it goes. Well, hey, Joe, thanks for being here today. Really appreciate you. Christine, as usual, amazing, and getting everything ready and rocking and rolling and working with Joel today to kind of present this to our valuable audience who wants to learn and grow in the marketing, communication, media space, whether you own your own business and you want to just take it to another level, or if you're a marketing, communication, media professional and just want to learn how to power partner up with other folks like Joel. This is a great place to kind of do that. So with that, what questions do we have for Joel? And let's give him some softballs first, and then we'll just get right into it. So this will be fun.
I don't play softball. Bring the heat, baby. Bring the heat.
Right for it. Okay. All right.
All right. I'm bringing it then. You ready, Joel? All right. So a lot of business owners, they're starting out and they're like, I know I need to run ads. I don't even know where to start. Can I do it myself? Right. And they can get overwhelmed. I mean, any advice for those that are small business owners maybe and are just starting to kind of dip their toe in the water on advertising? How do you suggest they get started?
Well, it's funny because a lot of the clients that come to us have tried it, right? And they go, "Oh, I did that. It doesn't work." Right? "Oh, we spent $500 last year and we didn't get anything out of that." Right? And so one of the things that I talk about is critical mass. You need to know what your numbers are. So what is it? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Right? You can't just bite, right? You gotta lick, right? And it takes a while. So you got to think about how many licks is it going to take to get a conversion? How many clicks do you need, right? Licks or clicks. So when you go into creating a campaign, we got to find out two things. One is there a market? Is what you're offering have value to the audience you're offering it to? Is it frictionless? Can I get in easily, or do I have to jump through a million hoops? We had one marketing consultant that said, I'm not getting any leads. I said, okay, let's try it. So I went into their lead gen, and the first questionnaire was 25 questions. I'm like, they don't even know you, right? And now you're asking them the deepest, darkest secrets in 25 questionnaire, right? Come on. We got to get frictionless. So bringing it down to the path of least resistance, putting handcuffs on your ad campaign so that the data you get is important information to you. One of the things that we talk about in A/B testing is headlines, colors, offers, but not all changed every time. Run your color test against another color. Run your headline test against another headline. Run your offer test against another offer, right? Don't run variations against variations.
There's got to be a name for this, Joel. We got to come up with a name. I want to be careful with how I say this, but is it scattered testing instead of A/B testing? Like is it like confused testing instead of A/B testing? Like there's a difference between testing that gets you data that you can actually do something with. So that's a great point. Man, that's good.
You got to segment out the elements, right? So, and I think that a lot of people kind of miss that. And so when you create an ad set, when you're getting started for the first time, that ad set is using the same budget, but may have 6 variations of the same ad. So you'll notice that certain ads get better traction because of the variations. Then you can turn some off, take the ones that are working, run it in another variation, take off the underspenders, use the variations, right? And there are some automation tools within algorithms and ad platforms that we can talk about to help you do that. But the bottom line of it is, if you're just getting started and you really want to know if it's working and what's working, you have to be methodical and take the time to test it.
Well said.
And I was follow up on that. You mentioned I tried $500 last year and it didn't work. What should they be planning, right? A lot of times whether or not we're happy about something is what our expectations were, right? Did we set up realistic expectations? So walking into, okay, I want to run ads. All right. What does that require, right? What are realistic expectations as we walk in the door with that for new business owners?
Yeah, and that goes back to research, right? So we want to know what the average cost is of a lead. We have clients where their cost per lead was tracking at $120 for a lead in the estate planning category. We've done a lot of lawyers lately. I'm not sure why, but we said, well, the industry average for the cost per lead, if you go through an agency and buy leads, is $100 to $300. So you can be happy with $120 if that's your cost per lead. However, through advertising and smart marketing, the average cost per lead is $86. So the question is now, are you happy with $120 or do you want to be at $86? After 30 days of testing, we got their cost per lead to $68. Now do the math. Are we about 50% cheaper? So how many leads does it take to pay for our service? Right? Not that many. If you want to grow your business, you need more leads, right? So, but you also have to reduce costs.
Kind of the both sides of the equation there. Great question. Joe, you had a question about a local business like a dentist or maybe a medical professional of other kind or some very local or regional type of business. Can you explain that question?
Yeah, so my question was like, when a lot of kind of marketing activities could be seen as transactional, like setting up a website or running a campaign, how do you take like a regional business like that maybe has like a set geo market and turn that into a long-term client?
So that's a great question, because I think this is where a lot of marketers get tripped up. And they say, I'm an SEO expert and I can drive your business, grow your business with good SEO practice. Or they come in and they say, I'm a digital ads guy and I can grow your business on Facebook. Right? Or you want a B2B, I'm a LinkedIn guy, I can get you more leads through LinkedIn. Right? But what they're not doing is they're not saying, let's look at your entire marketing equation and what you spend money on, and let's make that streamlined so that you can actually create a return on investment, right? So we want to make, again, predictable, profitable, and scalable. So if you're looking at their overall research and you see they're weak in visibility, that may be an area that you want to stress, but it may not be the entire campaign. So you're not a commodity. Now you're bringing value, because you're saying, based on all of these different ways that we can build a business, and that giver marketing blueprint is perfect for that local guy to be able to just check the boxes, right? And as a marketing agency, now you become their one resource. And I always say to my clients, look, you don't need to chase shiny objects. You don't need to be a professional in marketing. You can gain 100 years of experience overnight by just simply checking the box on my engagement form, right? So why not? You know, go do what you do, man. You know, and I'm here, right? So having me in your back pocket is going to give you someone that you can go to, so that when you get that phone call and it sounds interesting or not, you can say, hey, I got a guy. Or go talk to this guy. He could, and I'll vet it. I'll make sure their audience that they're delivering to is right. I'll make sure that brand image is on brand. Make sure the messaging is not confusing. Make sure that it's seen right by the right people, and that we can capture, track, and analyze the data from that ad spend, right? And how it compares overall to the marketing strategy that's important for that client. So especially a dentist, a chiropractor, any of these services, some of them are insurance driven. Dentists are insurance driven business. A car wash is a coupon driven business. A pizza guy is a coupon driven business. A high-end restaurant is a relationship business, right? So we have to look at the overall marketing strategy based on their audience and desired outcomes, but we also have to look at the whole package and say, where are we strong and where are we weak?
Well said. Good question. Question I have, Joel, is the term walled garden is something I learned from you. And I would like the audience to understand the pros and the cons, the cautions and the upside to these kind of spaces and places where you can get some value, but you got to realize what you're walking into before you get in there. Can you explain the term walled garden for me again, and then for everybody else?
Yeah, so there are platforms that are they provide you with all the services, right? But as soon as you stop paying them, it's gone. So you want to make sure that your client's assets, or if you're a business listening today, that all of your assets are not in some other platform that you're not going to have access to if I get hit by a bus. Okay. So you want to be able to make sure that if you don't like me anymore, you want guys with hair, that's fine. It's okay. But the data is going to be there for you. Our history is going to be there for you. Your assets are all in place so that you can continue to pick up and run without us. And that's very, very key, and where a lot of agencies differ, because they want to bring you into their platform. And once you stop paying them, your information is no longer available. And many times their websites are no longer available. So it can be very crippling. So you have
So
to.
we want to handcuff places like Google or give them tight boundaries like Google and make sure that we're in charge of what's going on there to the best of our ability, but we don't handcuff clients. Like
Right.
that's not a good practice. If you're ever feeling like that's happening with a power partner, a marketing provider, a service provider of any kind, talk to one of us and we'll give you the real deal, like feedback. Like if they do this, they're fine. But if they do this, that's not going to work out long term because they have assets in a place you can't, whether it's a platform or a person, like you got to make sure you have access to your assets, your data. It's your dashboard. It's not, I mean, it's not something that they're hiding or holding back. So I just wanted to make sure that, because this is one of the biggest issues in small to medium-sized businesses is folks get into what looks good and it does produce some results, but it doesn't actually carry through when you scale because of how it's set up. It doesn't really work for evolution and development of your business. And so just wanted to kind of mention that we've all been in situations where, we're relying on all of our leads from, a particular place or space. And it's like, well, what happens when things change? What do we do?
Yeah, we had a comment yesterday. The client says, well, we want to work with you, but this other agency is doing all our event marketing in Facebook. And if we stop working with them, we're not going to have any more leads and marketing going on. And it's not their ad account. They aren't their assets. People, express an interest to come. The only control the client had is whether they showed up or not. Right. And as long as people showed up, they continued to pay the bill. But when it came time to understanding what they were paying for and how much those leads were actually costing them, it really wasn't a profitable transaction. And I said, we can all lose money going to just go sit on the beach. At least we're going to enjoy it, So why work 24/7 and lose money? So we have to really think about it.
All right. Well, hey, it's great working together with other marketing, communications, and media professionals who actually have the client's best interest in mind. They play nice with other professionals in the similar spaces. We complement each other. We're like a team, like a sports team or a music team, a band of some kind, or for music, or an orchestra, if you will. But at the end of the day, Joel is one of those that kind of puts it all together oftentimes and brings in the right team members and makes sure that everything gets done that makes sense for the client, that makes sense for the client, that makes sense for the client. Like that alone will take you out of commodity range. Like just doing that alone is really helpful. So, hey, with that, Joel, let's put up your QR code one last time. I want to just make sure that people can see that. Grab the snapshot, get some extra goodies if you mention Giver as you're setting up your time with Joel. Again, these value-based mini sessions, if you will, are really, really important along the way. And whether it's you're talking to Joel and maybe one or two others along the way and getting kind of a consensus of what you're trying to accomplish, that's great. All Joel wants to be is in the mix so that he can give you some value. And so I highly recommend setting up a time today, like right now. Just grab a time with him, freeideasession.com, and that'll get you some amazing consultative, value-based discussion with him. So, all right. Well, hey, with that, Christine, we have one more really quick mention for the marketing, communications, and media professionals that are listening right now. Whether you're watching the recording or you're with us live today, don't miss out on kind of our open house. Come and network and connect. Christine, you're the face. You're the person who makes this happen. You're the facilitator, the networking diva. If you that is you. Okay, so share with us a little bit more about what happens when we show up on Wednesdays.
Wednesday is an opportunity to get to know other marketers, right? A lot of times, if you own your own marketing business, it's a lonely place by yourself. You don't want to be alone. You want to come hang out with us because there's opportunities to work together, collaborate on projects, share clients, right? And come up with ways to, let that tide rise everybody. So come hang out with us. It's every Wednesday. That's at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 11 a.m. East Coast time. Hang out with us and have some fun. Register once. It's a no-cost event, right? This is open house, like Timothy said. Come hang out with us and have a good time. Get to know some other marketers.
All right. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Givermarketing.com/networking will get you there so you can ask follow-up questions and make sure you have other compadres to work with on projects. If you're in the marketing, media, or communications space at all, PR, even some of the artists are starting to jump in as long as they can help and contribute on projects that will allow for more attention to our clients, then we welcome you, and we're excited to get to know you more, and you'll meet some amazing people that you can work with long term. We are a partner organization. We love helping channel partners, power partners, all kinds of partnerships. In fact, if we didn't have the name Giver Marketing Network, we would probably be like Partner Marketing Network or something like this. That's what we do. So we're glad to be able to connect with you on that. Okay. Well, God bless you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at the networking, or at least very soon. Talk to you soon.